The Mystical Number 7, inspired by Connie Mendes, written and published by Audible Aria. The reason we've dedicated so much time to these topics is that we're working on breaking down the programming of the matrix. By understanding these principles and laws, we can use them to comprehend the matrix's programming. This understanding helps us navigate and thrive within this simulation by knowing its rules and structure. According to Connie Mendes, a principle is very much like a law. It is a fundamental and unchangeable rule that governs the world around us. For example, consider the principle of gravity. This principle explains the relationship between mass and distance. We see gravity in action every day. Objects fall to the ground, water finds its level, and even light cannot escape the powerful gravitational pull of black holes. Gravity is a perfect example of a principle. It is consistent and reliable, always working the same way regardless of the circumstances. This consistency is what makes principles so important. They provide a stable foundation on which we can build our understanding of the world. Just as gravity is a fundamental principle in the physical world, other principles serve as the foundation for different areas of life and knowledge. Whether in science, ethics, or personal development, principles guide our actions and decisions, helping us to navigate the complexities of life. So when Connie Mendes talks about principles, she is referring to these fundamental laws. These principles are crucial to understanding how the world works and how we can align ourselves with these universal truths to live better lives. The 7 universal principles are mentalism, vibration, polarity, correspondence, rhythm, cause and effect, and regeneration. Keep in mind that this breakdown is for convenience. These principles work together as one. These 7 principles are like keys that open doors to new possibilities. Each principle will teach you something valuable about how the universe works and how you can work with it. By the end of this journey, you'll have a deeper understanding of your own power and how to use it wisely. So, get ready to explore, learn, and transform your life with these universal principles. Imagine a jar with 7 sides. Each side is different, but they are all connected. If one side is missing, the jar is incomplete and cannot hold water. But when all 7 sides are present, the jar becomes a vessel with infinite capacity. This image shows how each principle is essential and how they come together to form a complete whole. Think of each side of the jar as a principle. Just like the sides of the jar, each principle has its own unique importance. Without even one principle, the whole system wouldn't work properly. When all principles are combined, they support and enhance each other, creating a strong, unbreakable structure. This complete and balanced system can achieve much more than the individual parts could on their own. As you study these principles, you might feel the urge to disagree or argue. For now, I ask that you set aside these urges until you have finished the series. Keep your doubts on hold, as they can interfere with fully understanding the concepts. Once you have read all of my books and applied the principles, bring out your arguments. If you have carefully studied and practiced these teachings, you will find that your doubts have vanished like mist in the morning sun. First, the principle of mentalism. The principle of mentalism is the foundation of all principles of creation. The core truth behind everything we see and experience is that all is mind. Everything that exists is a product of thoughts, and all thoughts have the power to become things. A clear example of this can be seen in the development of a child. If you repeatedly tell a child from birth that they are worthless, ugly, stupid, and inept, you will shape them into an adult who feels insecure, fearful, and full of self-hatred. These negative thoughts, repeated over time, become the child's reality. Conversely, if you tell the same child that they are loved, valuable, intelligent, and capable, you will help create a successful, well-adjusted adult who is happy and loving. These positive thoughts, when reinforced regularly, shape the child's reality in a positive way. In both cases, the repeated thoughts become facts in the child's life. This demonstrates the power of the mind and thoughts in shaping our reality. The principle of mentalism teaches us that our thoughts have immense power and influence over our lives and the world around us. Just as you can shape a young child's mind with your thoughts and words, you can do the same with yourself, your friends, and your environment. Everything is connected to the mind. On a basic level, having a cheerful and pleasant attitude, even when you don't feel like it, can improve your own feelings and make others around you feel better too. When those around you are happier, their smiles will make you feel even better, a positive cycle that keeps building. Think about how powerful a simple smile can be. The thought of happiness, expressed through a smile, can change your mood and the mood of those around you. This shows the incredible power of thoughts and how they can shape our reality. The principle of mentalism also teaches us that this powerful force has a negative side. If you hold on to self-doubt, resentment, ill will towards others, or negative thoughts in general, these feelings will attract negative reactions from others. Whether positive or negative, your true beliefs will always show up in your life. But do you truly know what your real beliefs are? Often our deepest beliefs are hidden in our subconscious. It can be challenging to tell the difference between what you genuinely believe, what you think you believe, and what you feel you should believe. For example, if you think that you're always unlucky, and that bad luck is your constant companion, you probably won't win any lotteries or find success in risky ventures like gold prospecting. Your belief in bad luck will keep you from experiencing good fortune. On the other hand, if you believe you are a lucky person, you will naturally attract good opportunities. You might find yourself getting a job interview on the same day someone retires from the perfect position for you, or you might frequently come across unexpected chances that benefit you. In essence, your beliefs shape your reality. Positive beliefs lead to positive outcomes, while negative beliefs bring negative results. By understanding and aligning your true beliefs, you can create a more positive and fulfilling life. Now, this brings us to an important question. Is there really such a thing as luck? The answer is yes, and it is completely within your control. Every situation in your life reflects something you believe. It's a thought turned into reality. You have free will, which means you have the power to change your reality for the better. Even if your deep-seated beliefs are negative, they can be changed. Meditation and the understanding that truth is always positive and good can help you transform these beliefs. It's up to you to let this positive truth set you free. By recognizing and changing your beliefs, you can create a better, more fulfilling life. You have the power to shape your reality and bring good fortune into your life. Imagine walking into a brightly lit room filled with objects of every color. If you put on a pair of red-tinted glasses, green objects will look brown or almost black, and red objects will become lighter or disappear entirely. Something printed in light red would blend into its background and be hard to see. If you switch to green-tinted glasses, you'll see a whole new set of changes in colors. This example shows how the way you look at things can change your reality. Your perspective or mental lenses can significantly impact what you see and experience. If you change these mental lenses, you can create the reality you desire. The best mental lens is one that is absolutely clear. This clear lens gives you an unfiltered view of the truth, and the truth is, everything you want is already within your reach. By looking at the world with clear, positive thoughts, you can see and achieve your true desires. Why doesn't everyone know and practice this principle? Why is there so much misery, poverty, and illness in the world? These are logical questions. However, this and other principles are not as obvious as they may seem. The ability to believe something completely, to the point where it is not just a belief but a certainty, is not something we are born with. We must be trained to reach this level of belief. Even people who have studied metaphysics for many years can struggle with this. They often find it hard to overcome the beliefs that have been ingrained in them since they were very young. Learning to believe deeply and unshakably is a process. It takes time and effort to train our minds. The beliefs we are taught from childhood can be very strong and difficult to change. This is why not everyone knows and practices these principles, and why there is still so much suffering in the world. It's like gymnastics. Almost anyone can become a pretty good gymnast if they start young, when their body is still flexible. They also need to follow a regular workout schedule. But how many people actually do this? Very few. There are several reasons for this. Most people don't believe it's possible for them to become good gymnasts. They might be busy with other activities or interests. For many, it's just not important enough to put in the effort needed. Even though they know gymnastics could make them healthier, bring them pleasure, and give them a sense of accomplishment, they find it too difficult. Most people give up after their first fall. They find it hard to keep trying after facing failure. This is similar to how many people approach learning new skills or habits. It's a good thing babies don't feel this way about walking. If they did, they might give up after their first tumble and never learn to walk. Babies keep trying until they succeed, showing the determination needed to achieve any goal. But rest assured that a life of happiness, health, and prosperity is within your reach if you are willing to make the effort. While it is true that very few of us will ever become masters like Hermes Trismegistus or Saint Germain, almost everyone has the potential to create a joyful life on this earth and beyond. The key is to truly desire this happiness and well-being as much as God wants it for us. It takes dedication and a strong will to achieve such a fulfilling life, but it is possible. We need to believe in our ability to make positive changes and put in the necessary work. Just like learning any new skill, creating a happy and prosperous life requires consistent effort and a positive mindset. With the right attitude and determination, we can all experience a life filled with joy and satisfaction. Next, the principle of vibration. This Hermetic principle says that everything is in motion, meaning all matter has energy. Einstein took this further by showing that matter and energy are the same. For example, the vibrations of a rock happen mostly at the atomic level, and its potential energy depends on its mass and gravity. The force of a falling rock can be measured. Thoughts also have their own vibrations and colors, which match the frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum. When we talk about vibrational colors, we use analogies to help visualize what we can't see. Positive thoughts have very high vibrational frequencies, and their colors are bright and glowing. Negative thoughts vibrate more slowly, and their colors are dimmer and less transparent. The same idea applies to the vibrational frequencies of positive and negative spiritual states. A positive thought, like a positively focused mind, can't be overpowered by a negative one. If most of a person's thoughts are negative, their mind can become negatively focused. However, for negative thoughts to take hold, there must be something negative inside to latch onto. If you keep a positive mindset, negative thoughts have nothing to cling to. Jesus said, "The God of this world comes to me and finds nothing to seize hold in me." He was talking about Satan, the negative force that controls many people's minds on earth. By staying positive, you can avoid being affected by these negative influences. Material things from tiny atoms to huge galaxies move in circles. Electrons move randomly in their orbits around atoms. Planets circle their suns, and galaxies spin around their centers. Gravity causes this circular motion through a mix of distance, speed, and mass. In a similar way, love is like the spiritual version of gravity. There is a kind of motion that connects the physical and spiritual worlds, and this is called vibration. Many of us have seen sound waves on an oscilloscope screen. The lowest notes with the slowest frequency have big peaks and valleys, while the highest notes look almost like a straight line. We use similar ideas to describe the frequencies of electromagnetic waves, from radio waves and microwaves through visible light to X-rays and gamma rays. Spiritual vibrations work similarly to light waves. Our emotions are vibrations too, with lower frequencies being negative and higher frequencies being positive or godlike. Just like light waves, these emotional vibrations can strengthen each other. For example, Anger can make another person angry, and love can be returned with love. Alternatively, they can cancel each other out if they are out of sync. Good vibes can quickly clear away bad feelings between people. Prayers, positive thoughts, and thinking of God can help cancel out the negative vibrations of illness and unhappiness. We've all seen how a big argument can ruin a happy event for everyone. By keeping your thoughts positive and recognizing the good and beauty in a situation, you can help maintain a good mood for others through positive reinforcement. Next, the principle of polarity. The principle of polarity explains that everything has two sides, a positive and a negative, and that all things have contradictory elements. This principle might seem contradictory because, although the two poles appear to be complete opposites, they are actually the same and only differ by degree. For example, consider the color spectrum. We say that red and blue are at opposite ends, but blue gradually blends into red through shades of violet and purple. There are no true ends to the spectrum. It forms an endless circle. Similarly, the terms east and west are relative. If you travel east for about 24,000 miles, you'll eventually return to your starting point. This shows that opposites are connected and part of a continuous whole, much like a circle with no beginning or end. What we call hot and cold are just measurements of the same thing, temperature. This ranges from the absolute zero of space to the millions of degrees at the core of a star. We are simply measuring different levels of heat. The same idea applies to the mental and spiritual planes. Are love and hate really opposites? We often say they are two sides of the same coin, but they are actually just different degrees of the same emotion. Love and hate can be easily confused because they both measure levels of affection or emotional attraction. The same rule applies to fear and bravery. Without fear, there can't be bravery because bravery is about overcoming fear, not the absence of it. Both fear and bravery are different levels of courage, from being paralyzed by fear to taking bold action like a dragon slayer. Equally important is the idea that opposites can change into each other. Love can turn into hate, misery can become happiness, poverty can change to wealth, and sickness can become health, and vice versa. This is possible because both matter and spirit, or energy, are just different levels of the same thing. Spirit is more positive than matter, just like truth is more positive than a lie, love is more positive than hate, knowledge is more positive than ignorance, and motion is more positive than inactivity. These changes happen because everything is connected by different levels of vibration. We can change our emotions and attitudes by focusing on what we want to change, and then thinking strongly about the opposite feeling. For example, to turn fear into courage, we can remind ourselves that if we can feel fear, we also have the potential to feel courage. Courage is a stronger and more positive trait. It's believed that a higher power, or God, wants us to bring out the most positive qualities within us. By expressing our desires out loud and focusing on them, we will soon notice a change in ourselves. You can also help change other people and the situations around you using the ideas of mentalism and vibration. To change others, the best way is to see and acknowledge the good and higher part of them, often called the Christ within. This can be done by remembering and saying that this higher part is the perfect part of God, known as the Immaculate Concept. By doing this, you can stop focusing on the flaws in others and instead concentrate on their good qualities. As a result, these positive traits will become stronger and the negative ones will diminish. This change will happen not just in your perception, but also in reality. A person who has mastered these metaphysical principles often influences their surroundings just by being present. Their positive energy can have a significant impact on the environment around them. A person with confident goodwill, a caring smile, and a calm, happy appearance can change the negative feelings around them. Just by saying a few positive words, they can lift the spirits of others, turning despair into hope and anger into smiles and determination. Jesus had such powerful positive energy that he could heal people with a touch. He saw the perfect part of God in others and used this to change illness into health. When he said, "Go and sin no more," he meant that negative thoughts, words, or actions had caused their illness. Metaphysicians understand that all illnesses start from mental or spiritual issues that people may not realize they created themselves. They also know that these illnesses can be healed through mental and spiritual means. Please understand that we do not recommend avoiding doctors or ignoring their advice. Doctors play an important role in maintaining your health, just as your spiritual well-being does. Even people who are not familiar with metaphysics can recover with medical care. Achieving good health is actually quite simple. However, developing the faith and the absolute belief that perfect health is your natural right takes time, study, and practice. Trusting your doctor's knowledge and skills is not a sign of weakness in metaphysics. It's simply practical and sensible. The main truth is that there is no death, only life. Illness is linked to what we believe. We've been taught from a young age that we start dying as soon as we're born, and aging seems to prove this. It can be hard to change these long-held beliefs, but it's necessary. Instead, we should think that we start evolving from the day we are born. When we leave this life, we aren't dying. We are moving on to another stage of personal growth. Life cannot be destroyed. Death is a misunderstanding, and illness results from this misunderstanding. Illness can be healed through divine wisdom, spiritual healing, positive thinking, and practical medical care combined with healthy habits. You need to learn to love yourself before you can fully love others. The same idea applies to changing your energy or mood. You must start with yourself. Now let's look at a simple example. A smile shows happiness and belongs to the positive side, while a frown belongs to the negative side. When you feel negative emotions like sadness, anger, or frustration, try smiling. Recognize that there is good even in difficult situations and say to yourself, "I want the good to show itself." This helps shift your feelings from negative to positive. When you arrange your face into a smile, you start a positive process. Your body recognizes this as a sign of happiness and begins to adjust to this positive feeling. Soon you'll notice your mood improving, your thoughts focusing on solutions instead of problems, and your smile becoming genuine because it now comes from within. Like any skill, changing your energy and mood or polarization takes practice. Once you get good at it, you'll find that you can help others feel better too. Smiles can be contagious in a good way, spreading positivity to those around you. Next, the principle of correspondence. The principle of correspondence can be explained in a simple way. As it is above, so it is below. As it is below, so it is above. This means that everything in our world, every object, person, event, or emotion, has a counterpart in other levels of existence. In many religious teachings, we receive a lot of mixed messages. We are taught to believe in a loving God, yet this same God is said to condemn us all with a broad statement. Man who is born of woman is conceived in sin. This implies that we must spend our lives atoning for this sin. What makes it more confusing is that this sin is not even ours personally, but rather the sin of Eve. This principle of correspondence suggests that the patterns we see in our world are reflected in higher planes of existence and vice versa. It highlights a connection between the physical and spiritual realms, showing that what happens in one affects the other. Understanding this can help us make sense of the contradictions we often encounter in religious teachings and the world around us. Let's set aside the idea that Adam seems to be blameless, and that the whole story is likely more symbolic than historical. Common sense suggests that a loving God would not hold an entire species responsible for the mistake of its first ancestor. If God wants us to avoid evil in our lives, why would He deny us the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil? To avoid something, we need to be able to recognize it. A loving parent wouldn't tell a child, "Watch out for the deadly gazilch," without at least giving the child a description to help them tell the difference between a gazilch and an ice bucket. This analogy shows how important it is to understand what we're supposed to avoid, just as a parent would explain to a child what to look out for. It makes sense that God would want us to have the knowledge to distinguish between good and evil. This way, we can make informed choices and lead better lives. If God knows everything, then He must know before a baby is born whether that child will live a miserable life or be condemned to eternal punishment. This doesn't seem loving. It seems very cruel. Common sense tells us that God wouldn't act this way. So what is the spiritual equivalent of common sense? It is divine wisdom. This wisdom is a part of us and exists within each of us. It tells us that God wants us to understand the difference between good and evil. He wants us to learn everything we can, including how to control our own lives and destinies. Divine wisdom reassures us that God desires our growth and understanding. By knowing good from evil, we can make better choices and live fulfilling lives. This wisdom shows that God is not cruel, but rather supportive of our journey to learn and improve. As it is above, so it is below. This means that we are like smaller versions of God. Just as an ant can't imagine what it's like to be human, we can't fully understand what it's like to be God. However, we can see the similarities. We have more awareness than ants, so we can notice that both humans and ants build homes and cities. Both protect their places from enemies, have their own territories, and sadly, fight wars over these areas. Both also have strict societal rules. By seeing these similarities, we can understand that there are connections between the higher planes of existence and the lower ones. Many people walking down the street will change their step to avoid stepping on a grasshopper. Almost everyone will turn their car to avoid hitting a small animal. Anyone who is thinking clearly would swerve, slam on the brakes, and even risk hitting a tree rather than run into a child in the road. These actions are taken without thinking because we respect life. This respect comes from the belief that we are made in the image of God. As it is above, so it is below. If we were created by a God who didn't care or was cruel, we would see the animal or child as just an annoying obstacle. Our only concern would be how much damage hitting them would cause to our car. Recognizing, understanding, and using the connections between different levels of existence depends on how aware we are. Some animals might be smart enough to see similarities between themselves and humans. There are also people today with such advanced spiritual awareness that they can perceive things beyond the physical world we live in. In this huge universe, there are likely many types of beings both higher and lower than us on the spiritual scale. Some may have even evolved past the need for a physical body. If any beings from other planets have visited us, they are probably of this type. While thoughts can happen instantly, physical beings are limited to moving slower than the speed of light. Next, the principle of rhythm. In the section on vibration, we discuss the unseen movements that affect people, moods, emotions, events, and life in general. When we talk about rhythm, we mean the more obvious cycles we can see in everything. The changing seasons, the rise and fall of the tides, the swing of a pendulum, the beating of our hearts, the patterns of sunspots and solar flares, and the expanding and contracting of the universe over billions of years. These are all examples of the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. We are all influenced by these rhythms, but instead of being overwhelmed by them, we need to learn to work with them. Just as a martial arts master learns to use their opponent's movements to their advantage, we can use polarization to benefit from the rhythms in our own lives. This is like how a gentle breeze can use the power of a large wave, always staying just ahead of it before it crashes. Once you have gained a good amount of spiritual control over yourself, you can create your own rhythm. This means learning to move with the positive flow and avoiding the negative downturns. By doing this, you can better handle the ups and downs of life. This works because there are two levels of mental processes. The wave is on the lower level, and we can ride its positive peak to reach a positive state of mind. Once there, we can elevate our thoughts to a higher level, staying positive even as the wave crashes down. This leaves the negative feelings behind, unable to affect us. Think of it like riding a roller coaster to its highest point and then stepping onto a platform just before the coaster goes down. By doing this, you stay on a higher, positive level while avoiding the negative drop. You can find specific methods to raise your mind to a higher level and become more positive in all of my books. Once you learn the basic ideas, you will be able to make your own methods or prayers using your own words. Keep in mind that words are very powerful, but it is your belief that gives them their real strength. Next, the principles of cause and effect. The principles of cause and effect explain that the mind is like a powerful generator of energy, and our thoughts are the energy it produces. This energy from our thoughts moves in vibrations or waves, similar to how radar or sonar works, and it comes back to us, showing us the future that our thoughts have created. We've learned that what we put out into the world comes back to us, often said as you reap what you sow. Today, people also say what goes around comes around to describe this idea. We understand that what we believe will happen, what we think we can do, and our opinions about other people actually shape those events, our abilities, and how others behave towards us. Thoughts are truly a strong form of energy. They don't just reflect our feelings, they actually create our reality. If you have bad feelings towards someone, act unfairly, or cause harm to another person, your negative thoughts, words, or actions send out negative energy. This negative energy attracts more negative energy, bringing bad events into your life. When this negative energy comes back to you, it is even stronger. For example, an unkind comment might lead to a minor car accident, and lying to make someone miss a promotion could result in you losing your job. Living with honesty and kindness is important not only because it is the right thing to do, but also because it benefits you. You get back what you give out. This idea is part of the perfect balance that the universe is built around. You might wonder what happens if someone dies before you can make up for a wrong you did to them. What about a clearly bad person who becomes rich by stealing from others and ruining their lives, yet lives in luxury with a beautiful family? Or the person who spends their life helping others but faces tragedy, the loss of loved ones, and severe illness? These questions make us think deeply about fairness and justice. It might seem that good and bad things don't always happen to people based on their actions. However, there are beliefs that balance is maintained in the universe, even if we don't always see it immediately. The idea is that everyone eventually faces the results of their actions, whether good or bad, in this life or beyond. The answer to these questions is found in the ideas of karma and reincarnation. Justice and balance in the universe go beyond just one lifetime. Most people are not perfect in their first life, and God is kind enough to give us many chances to make things right. Karma is the balance of good and bad energy you create by the end of your life. A good person who suffers misfortune might be balancing out bad karma from a previous life with their good actions now. Their suffering is the negative energy following them from their past life. This person is likely getting ready to move to a higher level of existence. A bad person who seems to have only good fortune might be enjoying the rewards of good deeds from a past life. However, by doing bad things in this life, they are ruining that positive karma. They will face the consequences, either in this life or the next one. If you owe a debt to someone who has passed away, there are different ways to make up for it. If the debt is from a small wrong, you can cancel it out by doing good deeds in this life. However, if the debt is from something very serious that caused a lot of unhappiness, your future lives will be connected. Your energies or vibrations will be in sync, and you both will live at the same time in another life. In that life, you will have a chance to fix the wrong, and you will feel a strong inner drive to do so. This vibrational pull is just as strong for shared emotions. People who are deeply in love or have strong hatred for each other will be drawn together in future lives too. Reincarnation might seem like a strange idea to some, because in the Western world we usually rely on physical proof. However, there is more and more evidence that is convincing many people in the West that reincarnation is real. Think about it. We live today and believe that our soul is immortal. Is it really any stranger to think that our soul could live in many bodies rather than just one? To me, it's no more unusual than living in different houses throughout our life. In fact, billions of people from various races and religions around the world accept reincarnation as a logical and unquestionable truth. This includes millions in the materialistic Western world who care as much about their spiritual lives as they do about their physical existence. We always have and always will have control over what happens in our lives. This means we are responsible for both the good and bad things in our lives. However, we must avoid blaming ourselves and falling into despair, because these negative feelings can make things worse. If you focus on blame and punishing yourself, these thoughts will come true, and more bad things will happen to you. Instead, you need to practice forgiving yourself. One of the benefits of the Catholic ritual of confession is the feeling of being absolved or freed from guilt. It's not the priest who forgives the person's sins, and it's not God who has already forgiven them. Instead, it is the person themselves who forgives. This self-forgiveness allows you to let go of past negative thoughts and actions and replace them with new, positive habits. It opens the path to goodwill and perfect harmony. Lastly, the principle of regeneration. The principle of regeneration teaches us that everything has both a masculine and a feminine side. This idea is present in the beginnings of all things. When we look at plants, animals, and people, we see this balance between the masculine and feminine. This balance is not just true here on earth, but also in higher, more spiritual realms. It reflects the saying, "As above, so below." In understanding this principle, we also notice the concepts of polarity and correspondence. Polarity means that everything has two opposite sides, like male and female. Correspondence means that patterns we see in one place, like Earth, are similar in higher places. These ideas are closely connected and work together. They form the seamless fabric of the universe, showing how all things are interwoven and interconnected. When we talk about masculine and feminine, we are not talking about sex. We are talking about two different forces that work together to create life. These ideas are symbolic. For example, science is seen as a masculine force, while religion is seen as a feminine force. Intelligence is thought of as fatherly, and love is thought of as motherly. When we mention religion, we are not referring to the church. Religion is a set of beliefs based on faith and love. The word church originally meant a gathering of people. Over time, the idea of the church has changed into a system of laws, rituals, sins, and punishments. These changes have made the church very different from the original teachings of great leaders like Jesus or Moses. Religion is about personal and individual faith. It is a deeply personal belief that each person holds in their heart. However, churches, politics, and people who strictly follow the rules of a church often show the weakest faith. This is because their faith was not discovered on their own, but was given to them, all neatly organized and full of extra rules and traditions, like a frozen dinner that is ready-made. Living by one's own religion on such a strict and limited belief system is very challenging. It doesn't leave much room for personal understanding or growth. Yet those who manage to truly live by their faith, despite these restrictions, are very devoted and godly indeed. They show a strong dedication to their beliefs, even when it is difficult. Science advances with much fewer restrictions compared to religion. While there is a structured hierarchy in the world of science, this hasn't slowed down the progress. As a result, humans have made faster strides in understanding the laws of the physical universe than in understanding the spiritual realm through religion or the church. Metaphysics aims to bring science and religion back together. Both science and religion originated from early humans' curiosity and their desire to understand the world around them. In ancient times, people looked at things like lightning, volcanoes, and the movements of planets, and thought they were mysteries controlled by the gods. But as science developed, these natural events were explained in physical terms. They moved from being mysterious acts of the gods to being understood by human science. Science still has many mysteries, and personal religion can be very practical. The great teacher Emmett Fox calls this practical side of religion scientific prayer. This means using religion in a practical, effective way, almost like following a scientific method. The books in this series are meant to show you how the laws of the universe are both scientific and religious. They aim to teach you how to use these laws in your daily life. By understanding and combining the masculine and feminine aspects of life and the universe, we can gain a deeper understanding of everything around us. This combination helps us move closer to the perfection that is the grand design of the universe. That concludes the 7 Universal Principles by Connie Mendes. I just love her writing style, and it's so consistent with everything else we've talked about. She makes some fascinating assertions that are fun to think about. We have 7 principles, which are the principle of mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and generation. As Connie Mendes mentioned, all principles work together in a coordinated way. We don't focus on principles like mentalism, correspondence, or vibration separately. Instead, we look at how they all work together to explain how the universe operates at a basic level. Imagine these principles as the 7 sides of a jar. Each side is unique, yet connected to the others. Without any one side, the jar would be incomplete and couldn't hold water. When all sides are present, it becomes a vessel of infinite capacity. This image helps illustrate how each principle is essential and how they form a complete whole when combined. For example, the principle of mentalism suggests that everything begins with a thought. Correspondence shows that patterns repeat across different levels of reality. Vibration explains that everything is in constant motion. These principles are interrelated and support each other, creating a comprehensive understanding of how the universe works. This interconnectedness is especially important when it comes to manifesting and creating our realities. By understanding and applying these principles together, we can better navigate our lives and influence our experiences. Each principle contributes to the overall process, ensuring a balanced and effective approach to manifestation. If we can understand that everything begins in the mind, and that there is a correspondence between things, as it is above, so it is below, then we see that everything in our earthly world has a counterpart on other planes of existence. This means that every object here has a similar form or idea in another realm. We can grasp that everything exists in the mind and that these other planes have correspondences to all the things we see around us. These things move with vibration, meaning everything has different frequencies and vibrations. Positive vibrations have a special effect, showing that everything is dualistic, as explained by the principle of polarity. We see duality everywhere, light and dark, good and bad, hot and cold. In this world, duality seems to be a key concept. By understanding the principle of polarity, we can move ourselves to a higher polarity, realizing that these opposites are just different aspects of the same thing. As we deepen our understanding of polarity, we start to notice the larger rhythms around us. Everything is about cause and effect. Our thoughts create the world around us. When we realize that everything we see is a result of thought, we come to the final principle. There is a masculine and feminine side to everything. This duality is a fundamental part of creation and polarity. By seeing how these masculine and feminine sides work together, we can better understand the dualistic nature of the universe. This helps us appreciate how all these principles are connected and how they shape the world we live in. When we put all these principles together, we gain a better understanding of the forces we can use to create our realities. These rules can always work to our benefit. By considering rhythms, vibrations, and correspondences, we become more knowledgeable and skilled in shaping our world. Understanding these principles gives us an edge. It helps us imagine and bring to life the realities we want. With this greater level of knowledge, we realize that all things are possible in this world. We can use these universal laws to our advantage and make our dreams a reality. I am thrilled to share with you in each episode that there are endless possibilities available to you. I have witnessed amazing miracles, all achieved through the power of the mind. Your thoughts and mind are shaping the universe you experience around you. If you can grasp the basic principles behind this, you can start to influence and shape your reality. This understanding allows you to use the universe as a tool for service, helping others, and living a joyful and blissful life. These 7 universal principles will guide you towards that goal. It's not just about personal gain, though. With this knowledge, you can also make a positive impact on those around you. You can bring more happiness, peace, and fulfillment into your life and the lives of others. Thank you for listening.